Hello, everyone. It is the day you all wait for, so it must be a Monday because it's your host, Jonny and Scott, here for Bears of a Certain Age, and we have a fun show for you tonight. So, you know how I love a good multi-hyphenate creative person, and that's exactly what we have here today. He does not disappoint. Joshua R. Pangborn, you are an award-winning actor, writer, producer. What don't you do? All of the things. You wear so many hats, and you also have a production company called Sidekick Productions, and you are fat positive, sex positive, all of the positives that we have, which is what's excited for me. And so again, we said Sidekick Productions. So without further ado, he has made a very, very sad choice to be with us here today. So, Joshua R. Pangborn, welcome.
Well, I do like depressing things, so that's wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. So,
we're so excited to have you. I sprained my little scrolling finger going through all of his accomplishments. It hurts.
All of them, like you. Do you do multiple projects at one time?
I do. I get told by people in my production company that you're doing too much. Stop it. You can only do one thing at a time. And I'm like, no, I can't. I can't do one thing at a time. I must do more.
Because I don't know how that works.
I don't know how to stop. In Skeleton Crew, our first show that we did, there's a scene that I always quote in season 2 where my character is talking to his husband, and he's like, "If you don't want to be on this crazy train, you can get off." And that's sort of what Sidekick Productions is. It's a crazy train that we're just riding to whatever destination I get us to. So
I love that. So I wanted to ask first. I want a little origin story, if you will, of because you do so much stuff. Like, it's amazing. I can just watch anybody can binge you for probably a good 3 weeks. There's just so much there. What started it all for you? Where'd the passion come from?
Bears got the best of me. Bears on my fantasy. Bears ain't what I like. We do it all night, alright. Bears that don't discriminate. I take a cover chop to circumnavigate. Steal my heart and let it percolate all night, alright. Bears ain't what I like. We do it all night, alright. Bears.
This is back in 1983 when I was born. No, I started. We started as a theater company, really. That's what we were. Because I went to school for theater. My undergrad was I was an English and theater double major and a psychology and history double minor. And so I graduated, and I was like, well, I really would like to be in the theater and do theater. But I never thought I could act because my college professors sort of implied that I wouldn't have a career as a performer. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to do what else I love, which is write and produce. So I started a theater company right out of college called the Living Room Theater Company. And that was around for a couple of years. And we produced a couple of my shows. And that sort of fizzled sort of when the person I was dating also fizzled. So as these things do. So then I moved on, and I got back into it eventually in about 2010. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do a theater company again, I need to do something more than just create a theater company to make my own work. Which, hey, that's good. They always tell you if you're not getting work or you're not seeing the work you want, you make your own. That's what you should do. But I wanted to do something a little bit more. I wanted to have sort of not a theme for the company, but a reason for the company. And so I thought, well, I really love sidekicks and characters who are traditionally considered not the main character, really. So I thought, well, let's call it Sidekick Productions, and we'll focus on characters who typically are not in the mainstream, which are queer and fat characters. And that is where Psychic Productions was born. So we started as originally we were I went with what I was calling size blind casting, which was because you had colorblind casting where and anybody's ethnicity was not taken into account when casting. So I thought, let's do the same with size casting. And so if I do Romeo and Juliet, and Romeo, the best person who auditions is not a typical looking Romeo, then there we go. But I evolved sort of around the time that I evolved into film and television. I evolved into fat positivity, because I realized it wasn't just so much like size blind or body positivity I wanted to do. I wanted to really focus on characters who looked like me that I didn't see in television and film, and that's where sort of we got to Psychic Productions becoming a film and television company. So
nice. I have to say, it's fun to watch. Even though I will say, in the indie world, we can tend to find us more than we still can't really a lot in the mainstream. Like, we're always that side character you mentioned. But even now, this jaded 40-something-year-old man sitting here, I have to say, it did something for me. Because I binged one of your shows, The Demon Doctor, and I can't tell you what it did for me to see. Like, these are real men. These are men I see out every day. These are men, I flirt with all the time. And there they are. And not just one. It's not just a token part. Do you find it challenging that the mainstream is not following this amazing philosophy in casting?
It certainly makes it harder for me to get parts outside of the work that I do. It's because I find it frustrating because I get called in for roles, and then I open my mouth and I don't sound like what they expected me to. Because I get called in for like trucker or delivery man, and
Right.
those are great parts, and I can do a great character who's a trucker, but it's not the trucker they had in mind. So therefore,
Exactly.
it's a bit uncomfortable and awkward, and like, well, you're just a way bit gayer than we thought you'd be, and you don't fit the gay roles we have for you, so I don't know what to do with you, so goodbye. No, and that's not true. I mean, I've gotten some really great parts outside of Psychic Productions, but it is frustrating. I think that Hollywood likes to pat itself on the back when they do something that they consider to be a positive. They're like, "Oh, look at us! We made a movie with a diverse cast, or we have a queer role in this movie." But it's a queer role, or it's a cast with it's one movie that's diverse, or it's one. I don't even know if there's one movie that really has a fat character in it that's like a main character. That I mean, they have them in it, obviously. I mean, you get movies with Melissa McCarthy in it now, and she's a star, but she's really there's nothing about her that's not comical, and there's nothing wrong with being funny. I love being funny, but there's not, like, if you think about Mike and Molly, her TV series. Great. It was a couple. I mean, it was a years long series, really fantastic, and there was about a central couple who was fat, but they never ever had any sort of physical relationship. You never saw them in bed except on top of the bed on top of the cover, and they were lying side by side, almost like Lucy and Desi back in the 50s. You never saw them sans clothing at all, like even remotely. You saw other characters in the show half dressed. Never saw them. Same thing goes with Mitchell and Cam from Modern Family. Again, the other two couples in the show, super sexual couples. Mitchell and Cam, they were basically eunuchs. And again, there's nothing wrong if they were asexual characters. That's one thing, but these were not sexual characters. These were characters who are gay, who just don't happen to have a sexuality.
Well, and I just kept thinking before I realized they weren't going to do anything with it. It would have been awesome to see this skinny guy with this big guy, because that's reality. And
Absolutely.
I was so excited, but you're right. They made them comic book characters.
And they never kissed. The first time they kissed was in the background where the in the foreground was another moment going on, and their kiss was barely visible at all. And again, we don't need full-on queer as folk sex for these characters, which, hey, that would be great too if they had that. But there should just be something more there, and the representation is just not there. And in the movies, it's not there either, and it is very frustrating. It's something that I would like to see change, but until that happens, I guess I'll do it. So.
I think the conversation has to change too. Jonny and I each talked to a lot of different people in these topics about positivity in different areas. I had a real unique conversation the other day with Kurt Yeager, who's an actor who's an amputee below the leg. And he says the conversation needs to switch, and it was a great way to think of it. The conversation used to be, or seems to be, what gay person we need this gay role, what gay person we get. The role should, the conversation now needs to be, I need a secretary. Doesn't matter if they're handicapped, doesn't matter if they're gay, doesn't matter if they're fat. I just need a secretary. You don't need to cast the gay role anymore. You don't have to make the disability quota, so to speak. You just find the best person for that job, right?
I had a meeting with someone last...
trying to fill quotas instead of just getting good actors in there.
I had a meeting with somebody last fall who was telling me, well, why are the characters fat? What does it enhance for them to be fat in this show? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's just because they're real characters. Like they want to see themselves on screen. They want to be represented, and
sometimes we're just fat. That's just,
a lot of times we are. In my world, everyone I hang out with is pretty much fat. So
right. And they don't have to have a backstory when they walk in. They just are. Yeah.
That's what I love about Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage takes roles that are not only specifically for people of his height and everything. He just picks roles, and they adapt the story. They don't adapt the story or anything. They just treat him as quote unquote average height, and it's what I think is really smart about what he does is that he doesn't go just for roles that would be in the past something that like Warwick Davis would have done or something like.
Right. Well, and
I
really
think have to congratulate you for creating your own things, because I think that's what needs to be done. I mean, I started this around 2015, doing the podcast and talking to people, and that's when everybody had to create a web series because nobody was getting work, right? So you had to start creating something to be in it. And that was just to get the work, but you're doing it for entire cultures, for entire groups. I think that's so important, not only to tell stories, but to tell people, which it seems you're kind of doing a little bit of both. So I love that. So good on you for all of that.
Yeah. Well, and it's fascinating. So you mentioned earlier that you had, there was a minor in psychology. Is that what you said?
Yes. Originally, I was going to be a psych major. And I realized after realizing I couldn't necessarily deal with people with psychological issues, that this was not the right field for me. And also, I wasn't passionate about it. So.
Well, and yet you created Skeleton Crew, which I feel like you're putting that degree to work. Because it's so good, but everybody's got some issues,
For sure. In Skeleton Crew, everyone, I think you can't be a character in that show without issues. So that's pretty much how I create everybody in there. There's nobody bland in it. So.
Well, it's had 5 seasons. Is that right?
Yeah, we finished the 5th season during the pandemic. It came out slightly after the quarantine phase of the pandemic. And now we have a spin-off in the works for Skeleton Crew, and then we'll have season 6 along the way. It's just got to find the time for it, really.
Yeah, well, I don't know how you'd have the time for much of anything, but it's a great show, so well written, but I can totally see where you get to put that degree to work, and it just comes out of it. I mean, 5 seasons is nothing to sneeze at, either. I mean, you do all these projects, and then here you are. Out of all of your shows, which was the first?
The first show was Skeleton Crew.
Nice. Nice.
Skeleton Crew was our flagship series. I never expected. I was going to be really excited if like 100 people watched it, because when you do theater in New York City, nobody comes because it's theater in New York City and everybody has a show the same night as you. So and all your friends are in shows the same night as you're putting a show on. So so I was like, well, like 30 people saw my shows. Let's see, maybe I can get 100 and to watch the show, because they can watch it anytime they want to now. And then the first episode, we got like 2,000 views in a month, and I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. So and now we're up to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and some of our episodes have over 100, 200, and 200,000 views. So.
Wow.
What do you find is your typical viewer? Do you kind of get some demographics or from fan mail or from different things like that? Who do you see tuning in?
A little bit of everybody, I think. I mean, according to YouTube analytics, our viewers are traditionally male or male identifying, but then age-wise, they're all over the place. I think that I think there are certainly people who watch it because I went with the Queer as Folk model, which is you put a lot of the sexy stuff in the beginning and you grab them, and then you then they stick around for the story. And there are people who came for the sexy stuff and then they stuck around for the story. And I've gotten a lot of people who've written to me talking about how much it means for them to see themselves on screen, how they discovered that they loved big guys because of that they met their boyfriend because of the show, or it's been really beautiful. There are people who certainly watch it just because of the sexy stuff, and I mean that's going to happen with any show or movie or anywhere. I mean, that's why certain people get cast all the time in Hollywood because of that.
Right.
That's kind of the reason I asked too, is because you said something earlier. You said I usually hang out with other bigger people like I do, and I think it's very interesting. We talked about being in classes and different things. The reverse is true for us too. I mean, I'm a chubby guy that I'm a dodgeball fiend. I will dodgeball the heck out of someone, and so you kind of find yourself in those sporty cliques and other things. And you got to think we have to sometimes put ourselves out there and other things and not consider ourselves just one way, right? That's why I think I love getting different demographics loving your show, because it's just a fantastic, funny and flirty and sexy show.
Yeah.
It's also a really one of the things that people have loved about it is and drawn them in is that it's a really great lesson in watching somebody evolve as a filmmaker, because season 1 we have no idea what we're doing. I was like, I just want to make a show. I've never been to film school. I've never done any of that stuff. So we got a camera, we got a audio recorder, and we just made a show. And I didn't just make like a show. I made 12 30-minute episodes, which is insane. When anybody makes a web series, they're like 5 10-minute episodes. I did a full season of television. So
yeah,
that's how my brain works. And then season 2, we discovered lights, and that was exciting. We learned about lighting, and that was fun. And then season 3 and 4 and 5, we start to bring in more pieces of equipment. We start to realize and experiment with camera angles more. We try crazier and more extreme transitions and editing and all. So it's a really fun primer in watching somebody develop as a filmmaker and have a good time with it. So
I love that we discovered lights in the use. That's how I work. I discover as we go.
It really is.
Right? One of the things that I love also is your casting. So I have a two-part, because I have to mention that Nakia playing the succubus in Demon Doctor is, first of all, he's brilliant. I've never seen him act. And brilliant. And also, he brings the sexy time with you.
Nakia is a delight. Nakia discovered Skeleton Crew, and he said, "I really like this show." I remember because he commented on it, and he's like, on Facebook, he commented and said, "I really like this show, but the music is terrible." And I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing." So, because I'm doing Creative Commons music, and I'm like, well, this could go here, and this could go there. And I'm
Right.
like, I don't know what I'm doing. Come and help me then. And
Right.
he's like, okay, I will. So he did. He came on, and I said, well, we're moving into Demon Doctor, which is my new show that we're gonna make. I'd love to have you be in it. And he auditioned, and he was great. He pulled out this accent from Brooklyn I'm like, you're from Texas.
So good.
Now. What are you doing with this Brooklyn thing going on? But he was so great. And then I love working with Nakia. And then of course Nakia made the musical episode of Skeleton Crew with me too, and that was a huge endeavor that we did together. So I can't. Yeah, Nakia has drastically altered what we've done, and he's brought so much to it. He's such a good performer.
And that first season, such an amazing, just so much fun. But so are the people that you cast in this, they're so perfect for what they bring to the show. Are they part of your like theater crew from the theater days? It just seems like there's a connection there.
Sure. I mean, it depends on the person. Some of them are, some of them are not. Some of them are people that I found along the way. Season 1 of Skeleton Crew are a lot of people that I knew from either friendships or from my theater's company. The main cast, Veronica and Gina and Aaron, were all in plays with me and everything. Then Stuart was also in a play with me, Stuart Keychek, who plays Father Anglicus. He was primarily behind the scenes for season 1 because he's the only one that I knew that had any film experience because he worked with Trauma Studios. So he did that, and I brought him on, said, hey, can you help by filming us? But we also auditioned some folk. We did some auditions. We brought them on. But a lot of the people in season 1 especially were friends and found family, basically. And then season 2... season 3, season 4, season 5, I started to audition more and more. Although we did get some people who said, hey, I would love to be in this show. And I said, let's find a way to put you in there. Gerard is Christian Marte from season 2 onward. He was a friend of Chaz, Andrew Carter. And we brought him on and because he wanted to be in the show. And it was fantastic. Horatio, who is one of the most hated characters on the show, but also most loved because of that. He was a friend of Stuart's, and we brought him on. And it's just been really great finding the right people for the right roles. And then when I made Demon Doctor, some of the roles I knew I wanted, and I wrote them for them. And then some of the roles I had no idea, and I auditioned. But a lot of the time it was auditioning people who were in Skeleton Crew, because I am very much of a repertory kind of person. I like to work with the same people because I know what I'm getting into, and also I just love working with them because that's me. So.
Right. How do you balance all the different hats that you have to wear? I mean, you're so prolific and you have so much content coming out. How do you juggle being the editor, the writer, the director, the actor? Are you able to share some of the responsibilities? Like you said, you had that one guy come in and help with sound. Are you finding yourself easier to share the responsibilities? Or are you kind of a control freak like I am, or how does that work?
I am definitely a control freak. I will absolutely say that. I have learned in some aspects to start asking people for help. I'm still not very good at it, but like with some of our more recent projects, I have other people doing color grading for the movies and not me, because that's an area that I know I'm not as strong in. So rather than continue to do it, I'd rather put out a better product that's got other people doing it.
You're not allowed just to throw a filter on, talking about learning as we go.
That's
you have to color correct? Wait a second. Stop that. You're talking nonsense.
I still watch all these YouTube videos, and I'm still like, I don't get it. It's not working for me. Why? So, I sacrifice a lot, actually. And not to be dramatic or anything. I sacrifice so much for the no. I sacrifice a lot of free time, basically. Where a lot of other people will chill after work, I spend another 6 hours doing something, editing or writing or scheduling and organizing. If I've friends are like, oh, we're having a Super Bowl party, and well, first of all, I don't care about football anyway, but I mean,
Exactly.
but I do like
If Johnny
food.
didn't have a puppy, he'd never find himself back home.
That
He
is
would
so
never be
true.
home.
If my dog wasn't waiting, I would just be constantly working.
And that's really what it is. I mean, I don't do a lot of other things. If I'm doing something else, it's because I really want to do it. It means a lot to me, and so I make those things happen. Like if friends have shows, or if friends have parties, or if friends have events that are important, I'll get there and I'll do that. But if it's just a quiet night after work, I'm not sitting there in front of the TV or relaxing or reading a book or something. I'm working, and that's sort of what it takes to get it all done. Because if I don't do it, no one else does. So,
I forgot where you're based out of. Where are you based out of?
New York City.
Okay.
Where all the talent lives. I'm so mad.
Exactly.
There's a lot of talent everywhere, is what I've discovered.
There
Though I mean, one of the things I've really learned since doing Psychic Power Hour, which I started during the pandemic, which is our sort of live stream talk show kind of thing, is there are some amazing people all over the world and all over this country that don't live in major cities. And I think that the internet has really made it possible for people to make shows and make songs and music that don't live in major hubs. And that's really been such a revolutionary thing for finding more diverse voices out there.
Exactly. As much as I like to play the bitter old queen, there's so much truth to that, because I was in LA, and I find that I get way more done now that I'm in Washington State than I could have ever gotten done in LA. And, I love LA, it's great. But yeah, so there is definitely a collaborative spirit with artists other than the major cities. And I think that's really great. But I will still be bitter, so
But there's something to say too about places that aren't the major cities, about finding affordable ways to do things, because a lot of times, like if I go to a store and I say I'd like to rent the store to film a scene in today in New York, they'll be like, great, it's $5,000 for the day. And I'm like, oh my god, okay, no. But if you're from a small town, sometimes they're just like, yay, just put my name in it, or I just want to be in it, and then you can. And yes. It's so different. I was cast in a short film over right before Christmas, and it was a very small town out at very end of Long Island, like almost the ocean, almost the edge of Long Island. It was a long trip out there, and apparently we got these beautiful places to film in, and they were just thrilled to have somebody filming in them. And that's all that they wanted, was to have their names in it and just have that opportunity, and that's fantastic. I mean, people are like that in the big cities too, but it's not the same. It's not.
Yeah, and it's few and far between, honestly. Yeah.
Now talk about those challenges. I mean, you're in one of the most expensive cities in the world. So obviously I would think money has got to be a pain point. You said you have a lot of creative talent around, but people are so busy. I remember people are doing auditions and this and that, and trying to schedule anyone could be a nightmare. What are your challenges in getting all this put together?
Well, scheduling for sure. Skeleton Crew, a season of Skeleton Crew is usually like 9 months commitment. So I try to have a schedule for everyone for the full 9 months, which is a massive undertaking to get everyone's conflicts for 9 months and be like, oh, okay, this person fits here. How do I do that? It's a lot. So scheduling is a massive conflict. The other thing is, I mean, probably just the cost of spaces. Filming locations is the most challenging thing, I think, to do, because it can cost so much money to film in New York. And you want to do it right, but you also need to do it in a way that you can afford it. So it's really a complicated thing there.
And it's the never, I bet it's the never ending, because you do so many projects, you've been working on things for so long. It's the ever evolving, same problem, different answers. You know what I mean?
It is. It really is. It's. I go into every new project thinking, okay, I know what the problems are going to be, and they are, and they're the same things, and the solutions that worked for previous ones don't end up working for the ones that I'm working on, and it's just, okay, I'll try something different this time. So,
as we begin to wind down a bit, I do kind of wonder, what would you say to artists around, because who watch your stuff, or maybe they're just discovering you here? What do you say to them if they're feeling discouraged?
I know that feeling, but the only person who is going to get your show done or your work done or your piece done is you. And you can't let anything stop you, because there's no point in not having your voice put out there, because your voice should be heard. And it's easy to say, I can't do this. And that's why so many people don't do this, because they tell themselves they can't. But you should tell yourself you can, and then see what happens.
Yeah. I love that.
Well said. And what can you share with us before we start wrapping things up here about your two new projects? We have Brooklyn Butcher and, of course, Taste of Youth, which I've tasted of shared youth in my day. But talk about what do we have going on here, Josh?
So I decided to venture into feature films because that was an area we hadn't gone into yet. So we in 2022 we filmed A Taste of Youth, which is our very, very first feature film. It's a queer, fat positive, sex positive horror film, and it's co-directed by me and Nikia, and co-stars me and Mark Eugene Garcia, who plays Mark, Detective Mark in Demon Doctor. So we have a lot of great chemistry. It's going to be really great. It's a horror film about basically someone has turned 46. Mateo, who Mark's character, has turned 46, and he's frustrated.
Right there.
He's frustrated by the fact that he is closer to 50 than 40, and thinks that there's no point anymore in anything, and he'll do whatever it takes to be young again. And sometimes that is the unfortunate result of when all the worst horror things happen then. So that is...
Or all the best horror things. It
True.
just depends.
True. It'll be our first thing with some nudity, which is very rare for us. We do sexy things, but we don't usually do nudity.
Right.
And again, it's not like a blatant nudity, but there's nudity in it, which is, I think, something that might entice some of the viewers. I don't know. It's also, I think what's really special about it is a film that has a main character who's asexual. And there are not a lot of asexual characters out there to begin with, let alone in horror, and certainly not as a main character. So I think that that's something that I'm really excited for people to see with that. And then I don't stop. So I thought, well, we're in post-production on A Taste of Youth and a feature film. Let's make another feature film while we're waiting. And so I did. Butcher. Because why not? What are you gonna do with this time? So we made The Brooklyn Butcher. The Brooklyn Butcher is a story about a Brooklyn apartment building in terror as a serial killer haunts the city. And it tells the story of 9 separate apartments in the building, where each experiences their own definition of horror as the police investigate a murder inside the building. It's an anthology film where every story is self-contained, but also adds up together to a larger narrative. And I'm really excited for that. So,
Also, if you're going to film
what was that TV
film,
show, like Park 666, Park Avenue 666 or something?
yeah, I remember that.
I love that show.
I remember that.
Yeah, that kind of like, I love those kind of shows. That's
So,
amazing.
as we went, first, 2 things. First, I want to say, tell people where the YouTube channel is, and then where your socials are located.
Sure. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/sidekickproductions. You can follow me on Instagram at sidekickproductions, on Twitter at sidekickprod. or on TikTok at Sidekick Productions. Or if you really like us and you want to help us out, you can go to patreon.com/Sidekick Productions. And for $3 a month, you get to get all of our background content and all. You get to see all episodes of shows before anyone else does. And if you, we also have a private Discord that you can join as well. So
nice. First of all, today was the first day that I realized you had a Patreon. So everybody go out.
I'm really bad at promoting it. I need to promote it much better.
Well, everybody go, because we say all the time that it's important to support our indie artists. But I'm excited because now I can go look at that. Also, first of all, thank you so much. With you being as busy as you are, you probably have another film to film. So thank you for taking time. And I want to entice people. So I became obsessed with Demon Doctor, watching the whole first season. And people, I'm just going to give you a little thing that happens. Some character might lose his penis. It might, be in a Tupperware. And so if you want to know why that is, you should probably watch the show. That's all I'm saying.
And it's really funny because I was watching Lisa Frankenstein this weekend in the movies.
I want to see
that.
that.
I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a very similar scene that is from Demon Doctor, and I'm like, it's weird that this scene exists in one show, but now it's really weird that it exists in two.
Right.
I got a screener for that, and I saw the preview, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
I'm dying.
It's a fun little campy film. It's really, really cute. It's really, really cute. So
I cannot wait.
Well, Joshua R. Pangborn, it's been absolutely a pleasure to have you on us Bears of a Certain Age with us. You got to share as you keep producing these amazing projects. Come back and let us know what's on there. And one of these days, Jonny and I will make it to New York, and we'd love to be a featured performer.
We can make that happen. I'm very, very good at slipping people into the background and and getting them in lines and everything. So come on over and then we'll do it.
I'm also good at
having cheap. If I could have a real New York bagel, I'm yours for the day. We're good.
That's
Bagel's
so good.
perfect. There we go.
Don't stop creating. I absolutely love it. So we will proselytize all over the world for you because the work you're doing is important and fun. So two good things together. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really, really am so grateful that you have had me here. I mean, I tell this all the time to the people on our Discord. I make the things, but it takes people. It takes people to help me get the word out, and I'm so grateful that you have chosen to put me on here and talk about it with you all. So,
well, we love it. So everybody, see, he said it. Watch our show too. That's all we're saying.
Exactly.
There you go.
All
right, well, stay on the line for us, Joshua. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in every Monday in our Season 2 of Bears of a Certain Age. Again, we do have our Ask the Bears and Bear Hugs. That'll be coming probably next week. Be sure to drop us an email. Talk to us on social media, podcastbears@gmail.com. We hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Jonny, I'll see you next week, my friend.
I'll be here. Thank you, Joshua.
Bye.
Bye.
Bears got the best of me. Said bears on my fantasy. Said bears into what I